everyone. It's Dan Harrison, host of NuPath Live. I'm really happy that you're joining us today. It's October 7th, and this is what we do. Once a week since the pandemic began or so, we've been setting aside time to communicate with all of you, those of you who choose to access information through this channel, and to stay connected with NuPath, with our staff, to learn about policy changes, all the things important and relevant to NuPath. I was trying to think how I wanted to kick off today because we have a special guest and I want plenty of time to talk to him, and we need your help with something that we're kind of trying to puzzle through. And I wasn't sure how much I was going to talk about the vaccine today, except suffice to say that the deadline for getting the Moderna and having enough time to get your second vaccine for the vaccine bonus, I think was October 3rd, which means that for the Pfizer, BioNTech, I think it was the 10th, which is Sunday. So if you want that $1,000 bonus and you are yet unvaccinated, you need to make an appointment soon, or then I guess get J&J. The deadline for this bonus program is going to end November 1st. And I did indicate last week that the carrots were all gone, or just about finished, and we know what will come after the carrot. We are in the process of trying to finalize our policy regarding vaccination status within the organization and how that will affect an employee's employment with this organization. And you'll hear more about that in the next week or so. But hint, you need to be vaccinated. And I've been saying this for many, many months. It's time to put this terrible pandemic and virus behind us to the extent that we possibly can. And we owe it to the people we serve and to their families to be healthy and well. All right, that's all I'm going to say on that. And I'm going to move on now and talk about our guest today, Thomas Stirling. I met Thomas several years ago. We were at a Woburn Business Association dinner, and I walked through the door and he introduced himself. He said he knew me because he said he watched my videos. Well, at the time, we weren't doing anything as elaborate as what we've been doing over the past 18 months or so. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the fact that he said he watched my videos, and we began talking. We needed somebody at that point to help us with marketing our Navigating Life app. In fact, in finishing the development of it, we were kind of out of our depth a little bit. And Thomas, who has a founder and CEO of a company called Stirling Brandworks, located in Winchester, had a certain kind of style that we all liked very much. We felt kind of made us a lot in common with the NuPath spirit, the spirit of adventure and tenacity. We heard the Tom Petty song, "If You Were Waiting for This, I Won't Back Down." And he has a podcast, Brand to Brand, that I highly recommend. We'll talk to him hopefully about that a little bit when we bring him on. But Thomas has worked with us ever since and has helped us develop the entity that is sort of the parent company for Navigating Life, and that's Waypoint Interactive, developing the website for that, the website for Navigating Life, the product that is being used much more widely now and is promising to change our industry. And really helped us get through the pandemic in many ways, and is somebody that has become part of our family. Thomas has been at events, graduation, a job camp graduation. He's taken a step at being Cubics. There's a picture there of it featured. I assume it's at the WBA. And in the background is Tyler Gates, who's a treasurer on our board. And I felt that I needed to acknowledge that he was recently married to Lauren, his now beautiful wife, who I've met, and she's an amazing person. And so maybe we'll get him to tell us a little bit about life as a married man as well. So I think that is the quick and dirty sort of introduction. And I'm looking forward to bringing him on and having him joining us at NuPath Live for the first time ever. Thomas Stirling. We'll welcome him to our broadcast. There he is.
Thank you
Mr.
so
Thomas
much.
Stirling. How are you?
Doing great. Pleased to be here. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on live. I do want to dispel any rumors. I know I was Cubics once in the photo, but I was certainly not the Cubics that you interviewed a few weeks ago on the show. But all jokes aside, happy to be here and happy to chat with you about, what's ahead from a communication standpoint for NuPath.
Tom, you are a lively personality. I'll say that. And uh, you are highly motivated. You have a highly successful company that you founded, and we have been blown away by the quality of your work, the just the pace that you've been able to help us maintain. I don't know where we'd be without you. And you play a role really in a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that the average person watching this is probably, maybe they don't think about all that much. Even some people that tune in to watch Navigating Life, or NuPath Live every week. And we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I wondered if you'd tell us a little bit about first your company, and maybe help our listeners, our viewers, understand the work that you've been doing with us, and how important it's, because you not only are you representing us and developing the Navigating Life app, you believe in what we're doing and feel it's an important, it's a very important game changer for our industry. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and your work with NuPath thus far, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff.
Awesome. Well, I would just say it's been a privilege of a lifetime to work with you guys and your team. I think it was sort of serendipitous that we met at that event years ago. Starting a business over a decade ago, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of organizations, but it's really an awesome and outstanding honor to work with you guys because I think NuPath has a really special culture. You guys are trailblazers in a lot of ways, and you like to try out new things. And while if we were to survey the average human services organization, a lot of people are really just starting to leverage video. You've been doing it for so long. And I think for us at Stirling Brandworks, it's been awesome to be able to assist NuPath with marketing and technology initiatives, and some of which, like NuPath Live. And so I think what's been awesome is just kind of having a front row seat and being a stakeholder and a cheerleader, kind of watching you guys usher in some of these new initiatives. And obviously, I think one of the great things about the partnership has just been that commitment to sort of staying ahead. Having this conversation today is like getting ahead of things before we go too far and fall into the sort of mundane. NuPath Live has served a tremendous purpose over the last 81, I think, weeks we said. And now it's a great time to reimagine it and say, what's new? And that's something that we get to do all the time at Stirling Brandworks, helping clients think big picture and bring things forward. So,
Tom, I think it's one of your taglines, or is the main tagline, we put strong brands to work. And I remember when I first heard, because you had a rebrand yourself from when we first met you to Stirling Brandworks, and I remember hearing we put strong brands to work, and I remember thinking, does that describe us? He's working with us, so or does he consider us a strong brand? I appreciate your kind words and what you're saying. We do endeavor at NuPath to think outside the box and to dare ourselves to try new kinds of things that are going to improve the lives of the people that we serve and their families, who we see as such important stakeholders. We're going to talk. I keep saying we're going to talk about it in a second, but the list of people that we've been able to isolate have been the I guess you'd say super users, or the super consumers of NuPath Live. Many of them are families, and so whatever we could do to assist the stakeholders, our staff, families, everybody that cares enough to watch or get some of their information through this avenue, it's to benefit them in all things. We could talk for an hour about Navigating Life, I remember when we first began to, um, get to know one another. And I had this feeling like, okay, I'm checking you out to see whether or not you are somebody I can trust to help us with the project so important, so near and dear to us, people that have been around for a while know we've been working on this for many years. I'm trying to get this great idea that we had out into the market into a way that people could use. And then I got this idea that maybe you were checking us out too to say, do I want to invest my capital? You've got an amazing team. We've had a chance to work with so many of your developers and your marketing people, and it's just an incredible team and a lot of young people, which helps me stay hip and current on the things that matter out there to a an evolving demographic and population. But I remember talking to you and you said, what's your goal? And at the time we just finished an ADDP conference out at the DCU Center. And so the next one would have been a year out. And I said to you, our goal is to, and I was so, at the time, it was such a kind of extravagant hope because we were so far from it. But I said, I want to have an app that can be used. I want to have an exhibit at the conference. I want to be prepared to answer people's questions and to use this as an opportunity. Remember that? And you were like, let's do it. And a year later, we were doing just that. You had a booth at a stall, and you're somebody, as we said already, believe in the app and what we're trying to do there. Can you just give us a quick note on how you think, during the pandemic, it set a lot of people back, and you talk about this perpetual snow day that people have been on ever since. But we've been able to try to retool and lean into some of the circumstances that were outside of our control. And I wonder if you just share a little bit about your thoughts on that and the efforts behind navigating life and how important it is.
Well, I think, when we started that journey together and started to uncover, okay, well, how do we take where we are and get to where we need to be? It was certainly a massive undertaking, but more than anything, it was about capturing what was already working, what you guys were already doing well, and then, kind of transforming that into a more modern application. And I think the timing was right. I think the pandemic, more than anything, has led to widespread digital transformation. A lot of brands are taking a hard look at how they're doing things and trying to do more digitally, because ultimately with hybrid work, remote work, the work that we see in the not so distant future, more and more, it needs to be mobile. It needs to be where you are in real time. And I think that has made our conversations and our work together with Navigating Life so tremendous. It really has been the project of a lifetime. And early adopters are joining and joining the ranks and enjoying and loving using it. And we're having great conversations with users and stakeholders. But I think the best is yet to come, because a lot of organizations are still bringing staff back and they're dealing with all sorts of challenges at an HR level. I think once we flip the switch and people are back, I think even more so, it's going to be how do we all come together and do work a little bit differently, and digital transformation and products like Navigating Life, I think, are really here to help with that. So are communication vehicles like where we are today. I mean, a lot of people weren't used to doing Zoom calls and video conferencing a little while ago. There was a huge disparity between having an in-person meeting versus virtual. A lot of that has changed. Virtual has become, in many ways, a part of our lives, and in some cases, a benefit. And so I think now it's about, as we look forward, as we straddle into this sort of new age, how do communication mediums and how do products like Navigating Life and other tools sort of all fit into that mix? So
I'm afraid we're going to run out of time because there's so many things I want to talk to you about. So I want to make a quick plug. I know I already said it, but one of the things that I love about you is you've got this sort of daring sort of outlook on life. You're trying new things, and I love your podcast. I'm a big podcast guy. A lot of people know that. And I forgot to check how many episodes you have in the tank now, but I loved your recent one with Stacey Madison, founder and entrepreneur of Stacey's Chips and her story, and you brought some big names on. Highly recommended if anybody out there enjoys podcasts. Maybe we can put a link to it in the notes below. So you got that going on top of all the other accounts and businesses that you have, and yet you've been the kind of supports me in my role as CEO throughout, well, when we first got, met each other, but more so during the pandemic. I remember early on in those early days, being on the phone with you late afternoons, early evenings, and talking about, as we were just assaulted by all this negativity and gloom, and I had fears about whether or not we were going to be able to keep the lights on, and you really help us kind of understand our whole sort of communication strategy, and helped us understand the best way to move forward with how we were doing things. At the time, we were using a different platform, a webinar, a GoToWebinar, or something. I leave that stuff up to Greg and you to help me understand. I just sit in front of the mic and talk. But as these weeks have gone on, and the earnestness with which people at one time would dial in to check, to listen, and at the time we were these long 45-minute to an hour formats, and now I can't believe we ever did that. Refined it to 30 minutes, but we're even thinking about things a little differently. And I want to reserve the last minutes that we have here to kind of get it inside your head a little bit, and thinking about how we continue to refine our messaging, our communication strategy, how we are taking what works well and then improving upon that. But part of that's how people are consuming our message, where they are, what channel or how they're using it. Will you talk to us a little bit of some of your thoughts? You're the expert. This is your business. And what do you see as working well, or how do you think we need to evolve? Because I'm kind of feeling like this is a bit long, this 30-minute format.
Well, I think to your credit and your leadership, you're always staying ahead of things, and you're always, one of the things I love about you is you rather change something before it's stale than let it get there. And that's, I think, why we're having a conversation like this today. And in the initial ideation and the creation stage, what we might consider to be NuPath Live 1.0, when you were doing the Unity forums and the town halls, it was like some form of crisis communication and community, right? And that was really, really important at that stage. We all needed that. And then as we moved into what I would consider to be NuPath Live kind of 2.0, what we're in right now, you guys have really adapted it and created segments and all sorts of great stuff. I think as we look forward, it's got to be hearing from our fans, from the listeners, from the people that are joining week after week, and learning how to dial the broadcasts forward. And it's probably going to be some short form content versus some of this longer form stuff. If we think about TikTok exploded during the pandemic, really hit its stride in 2020. And then you see Instagram Reels, right? That was sort of Instagram's approach towards the same thing. And YouTube has their own version of Reels as well. We're seeing a lot more stuff move towards shorter form content, scrollable content that has syndication or transcribed versions of what's happening in real time, closed captioning, because people are listening to things on the go. Some people don't have the morning commute anymore. They're scrolling with the sound off, and they're trying to capture as much information as they can. And we've talked about this before, but the rise of podcasting, the rise of all these other channels, there are so many places to get your information. It's hard to know where to devote your mind share and where to spend your time. And that's the real challenge. And so I think there is an opportunity here to look at what NuPath's done, capture what's worked really well, and then start to apply it to what's this next phase for NuPath Live or for NuPath's general communication. How do we get in front of our stakeholders? You mentioned, and in conversations we've had before, we've got staff that dial in every week. We've got parents and stakeholders that join. And how do we make it so it's the right blend of content for them so that they stay engaged and they get the information that they need from you and from leadership? So, I would love to hear your thoughts or your ideas and what you're hearing from your audience.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say this: the first time I've ever heard anybody suggest that we have fans. I really like. We say it again, maybe just one more time.
You got some fans. I mean, I don't know what the listenership is at this very moment, but we have people that are dialing in that have hundreds of other places to be, and they're choosing now. They're choosing to opt in to these broadcasts. I think that's awesome.
We were looking at the list of people who we call the super followers or the super users or the people that are regulars. And I've got to say, if you're one of those people, you know who you are. I don't have the list in front of me. I was hoping to even put it up on a screen. Just because it validates the time that we're putting into doing this. You know, Tom, you've learned a little bit about our industry. I've shared with you about what some of my colleagues, other CEOs. I don't think there's any other CEO, not that, you know, I'm all that, but that's doing regular video, outreach to people. I mean, the way I was doing business 10 years ago, 8 years ago, is really remained the standard. And that's, these long emails when there's anything kind of communication, which, by the way, nobody reads. The sense is when I've talked about trying to encourage other organizations to do more video messaging, it takes some, I don't know what the word is, finesse, or, to think on your feet when you're doing, unless you've got like somebody holding up the cards, exactly what you're going to say. Most of the work that we do is just a genuine, kind of authentic, like in the real time. I mean, I'm pretty sure if anybody wants to know who I am and how wacky I can be, all you got to do is watch a few of these episodes this is it. This is me. If you're somebody that wants to know what's going on in my head, this is an opportunity. So we are looking at the people and the numbers of people that watch, but we also realize that some of our understanding, or the data that would help us understand, is kind of diminished, because if you're not on the live, if you're not watching this live, and many of you do regularly, then it gets pushed to the YouTube channel, and then maybe you see how many views there've been, but then some people maybe can see it on or watch it on Facebook. And so we know that people are consuming the media in lots of different ways, which is fine. The idea is that you do this at your pace, when it works for you. So regarding the time of day it is, there's never going to be a good time for everybody. I understand 3 o'clock is right when a lot of our day programs are exiting from the program. And families maybe, they're working, they're not home from work yet. But it feels like there's enough of a core group of people that have used NuPath Live to access their information. I've heard directly from families that say they will still watch weekly. And yet, as much as we're trying to adapt and conform and respond to the needs, the changing needs of our viewers and fans, if you say it, we also understand we're not Netflix. We're not Hulu. We don't have a department of people that are trying to think about, original productions or time limited, series or anything like that. Our use of media and this format is important in pursuit of our mission, and in ways that it can be useful, because we know communication remains one of the biggest complaints that many families and employees have of their companies, that nobody tells them anything, that they're not aware. And so how do we craft a message in the right place, in the right way, that the most people possible could benefit from? So you talked about the shorter form of the TikTok, and you and I agreed that, well, I think you were challenging me to maybe get with the TikTok craze. How would we begin thinking about this? How can we use our viewers, our fans, to help inform, where we go from here? What do you think we should be doing, or what would you recommend as an expert in this field?
Well, I'm glad that you brought it back to the mission, because at the end of the day, it all comes back to the goal, right? We're here to keep our stakeholders informed, provide real-time information, and talk about what's going on in the industry, in the world. And so I think with that in mind, and understanding that internal communication in organizations is really hard. It's really hard. There's a reason people put out the long emails, because it's hard to get out here every week over week. And I think, to your credit, you deserve a lot of kudos, as does your team, as does Greg behind the camera, and Brad, and the whole team that gets this thing done week after week. It's really, really, really hard. But I think the answer and the solution for where we go from here is actually easy. And it starts with, having an open dialogue and discussion with those that are joining week after week. I would say anybody that's watching right now, like, hit us up in the comments. Is weekly a good cadence? Is time of day good? Are there specific topics you'd like to see us go deeper on? Or maybe some channels that you do. I challenged you to download TikTok and give it a shot, not because I think that you're going to jump in, full speed, but because you can learn a lot from some of those short form creators. They're packing a lot of information into each of those videos. And so that's the challenge. The challenge is, how do we create content that gives people the information they need, meets them in the locations and the channels that they follow, and does so in bite-sized packages so they can fit it into their commute, their after work, or live. I think the nice thing about this live broadcast is it gives everybody a weekly reminder. They know you're going to be doing something. You're going to be examining some issue or challenge that you face. But I think hearing from your audience is really, really going to be critical. It will help you polish this and make it even better than it already is.
I don't often think about, like, if you watch any YouTube videos, I'll find out about TikTok soon, I guess, once I start watching. Although I was a little shocked some of the stuff that was coming up, but I guess it's like, you can find what you're looking for, and hopefully people will be looking for the stuff that we're offering and not, some of the other things. I don't even know how to say it. But I'm not one to say smash the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. That's what so many of the YouTube channels are, and yet the reason they do is because it shows the popularity of a channel, I suppose, and for those that are trying to use the site or the platform to leverage influence of some sort, or sell a product, or if they have advertisers. We don't do that, obviously, but there is something to be said for the feedback in real time, or like current sort of comments, and so I love what you said. If you're out there watching right now, it would mean a lot to us if you take a minute to share some comments. Hopefully they'll be mostly positive, but we do want to hear, like, whether or not this is useful and how it can be improved, as far as time and what the format is. I mean, right now I'm thinking, if I do a TikTok, maybe I'd start with, just getting, used to, using it and posting on it. But, people like different things and they have different needs. So meeting one audience, is, how to please everyone, I guess. You just can't, really do, but you can get as close as possible, I suppose, to something that allows people to pick and choose what's useful. Because some families, they want information about NuPath, but they're not as interested in getting to know the staff. For our staff, they may be interested in the, sort of intra, sort of office, communication and awareness. So how you could help us take that and make it specialized, hopefully, to different audiences. I don't know if there's a question there or not, but.
Well, I would just say, to follow up that point, like, a lot of content contributors are challenged with, how do we get our message out to all of these different audiences on all of these different platforms? And in some cases, what people do is, let's just say, you published a show like this, then you create kind of shorter form versions on different channels. So I think the challenge ahead is identifying which audiences or which stakeholders are getting the most value out of the program, and then how you make it so you can meet it where they need it and where they utilize it. And I think, you guys are already doing a lot of the right things. I think even just the challenge of putting this broadcast on every week, I mean, that's a big thing. A lot of people start the journey, and then along the way they realize and they identify how hard it is, and they stop the podcast or the video series or whatever it is, and they go back to those emails that we talked about earlier. So I think, keep the momentum alive and hear from stakeholders. And I would advocate, you might want to do a survey, an engagement survey for people, not just the people that are on today, although I would argue that is your target audience, right? The people that are taking the time and that are actually available in real time, but your entire community, hear from them, people that maybe are as less frequent visitors, less frequent watchers of the show, because that will lean some insights as well.
Thomas Stirling, you are terrific. I wish I could talk to you for another 10 minutes, but we're out of time, unfortunately. You've given us some great ideas, and for listeners, viewers, fans, if you see a survey coming your way, you'll know it. We thought of it here, and you can help us. Tom, thank you so much for being on today and for all the work you're doing for us and our community. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. A total pleasure. Thank you so much, Dan, and thank you everyone for watching.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye, Tom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We are out of time. Look for a potential survey coming your way. It means a lot if you just take a few minutes to help us out. We wanna give you what you need and what's useful to you, because you know what? We got this, and we're going to be the very best for you in all things. All right, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.